It's green for go. They're racing. He says go. He says ta-da. And Tiger Tara roars away from them on the home turn. Here comes another big boil over. Equine Athleticism at its best. The king is in the castle once more. This is in one race. The rest are almost in another postcode. She is a star with a capital S. It's going to be a triple treat, a miracle three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed history here at Menangle. What about that? It's getting right up on the sprint lane and it's going to bolt in.
Good morning. Welcome from Tabcorp Park, Menangle. Paul Cochran with you for another episode of the Sprint Lane, the live show, the podcast. We love bringing it to you. I've got Jess Watkins and Freddie Hastings with me as always. G'day, team.
Hey, Paul. Hey,
Paul,
Fred.
Jess, how are we going? Wonderful to be back, and we've got the great man. We've been campaigning to get Jimmy Locke as part of the show, and it's finally happened. How happy are we? We've got Jimmy on the show. G'day, mate. Welcome.
G'day. Thanks for having me.
I hope he doesn't charge too much.
No. Well, we've been campaigning, haven't we?
Yeah,
And we've finally made it happen. We made a few things happen. We'll get into them as the show goes on. Mate, you've driven up. Obviously, you're here to race today. You're based in Canberra, so you've what is that road? The M something.
The Hume, isn't it?
Hume, the National Highway, whatever. You've hit it a little bit earlier to make it here in time to be here standing with us.
Yeah, we left a little bit earlier, but that's all right.
Yep, mate, it's fantastic. How's your week been, Jess?
Yeah, pretty good. Very busy as always, but some great racing here on Saturday night, and I know we'll touch on that later in the show.
Yeah, good racing, wasn't it, Freddie? Like obviously Group 1 racing here on Saturday night.
Yeah. It's always good to call those Group 1 race meetings, but just the racing all round. I mean, the Coronation Cup wasn't a group race, but by gee, it ended up being
quality,
a terrific race, and it was quality across the paddock, and we'll talk more about that as the show unfurls.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get into it, eh? Hey, I wanted to queue up a little bit of audio, but I was worried about the copyright on a bit of Frank Sinatra, a bit of Dean Martin, but it was something like "Let it snow, let it snow."
A great musician.
Who's singing it again? Who's singing
Frank
that?
Sinatra.
Oh, well, let him sing it next time, please.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
He's just done a job on my voice.
Yeah, see?
He's gone.
He didn't warm up his voice.
No, the dulcet
warm-ups.
tones.
No. Crazy scenes at Blaney.
Incredible. We talked about it last week that they were racing, and I actually made the comment, the two visits I'd had to Blaney, I was warned, it gets cold there, and I struck a 30-degree day and a 28-degree day. I did look at the forecast leading into Sunday, and I saw it was going to be 8, and I thought, gee, I've picked the right time not to go. Well, apparently it was about 4 degrees, but felt like -8. Oh. So, Craig Easy, thanks for taking one for the team, son. He called magnificently.
That is a cold part of the world, Dave.
I know whenever we do talk to any of those Carnival of Cups clubs, Freddie, you're always the one on the forecast, and I know for a fact you did not predict snow at all by reading that podcast.
No, not snow, but I tell you what, it would have, like once the week's forecast became more commonly known that there was a cold snap coming, I guess it probably would have been easier to predict snow, but you don't expect it necessarily this far out from the actual winter season.
Yeah, to give it some context for those who kind of haven't caught up with the news, basically Blaney had a 50th year celebration, 50 years of racing at the track. So well done to the club and well done to everyone who's been part of the layers of history at that club. It's great to get together, but I guess they probably had something that hasn't happened in 50 years there happen. So race 4, if you get a chance, go and have a look at harness.org.au or the socials. I know Amanda Rando's pumped out the video of the race. Race 4 is what you're looking for. They raced in driving snow. Jimmy, ever driven in? You're from Canberra, so if anyone's a chance of driving in snow, it might be you.
I've never driven in the snow. Seen plenty of it, but never driven in it.
Well, I'll tell you one bloke who did, and he won that race. Justin Reynolds is on the line. G'day, mate.
G'day, how you going?
How was it, mate? How was it driving in snow? That's obviously probably new territory, I'm going to say, for you.
Yeah, it was freezing. Not a lot of fun. Sort of couldn't feel my hands off my face much after the race, but luckily enough I won. It sort of made it a bit more worthwhile.
So I must admit I wasn't there on the day. When did it kick in? Because having a look at the coverage on air, it was snowing as you started. When was the snow sort of starting to emerge?
Started around just as they told us to get the horses in the gig pretty much before race 4. It started to snow.
So roughly about 3:15 or thereabouts. It was because the race was around 3:30, so it started a bit before that, just a little bit before that.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone really looked that keen to get out there. And
What a surprise. What were you thinking, mate? What were you thinking? Like, you sort of look out and go, oh, you're kidding. I've never done this before. But I reckon at party it must have been like, oh, how cool is this? Literally.
no, not really.
No?
I think, Justin, you're probably planning a trip to Queensland to drive after that effort.
Yeah, that'd be a lot
Thaw
nicer
out.
driving it. That's for sure.
But what challenges did it present, Justin? You guys, it's part of the job. You guys driving rain and muddy conditions and that, as long as the track's safe, and the stewards are really thorough on that, making sure that the track's safe. So that's one thing. What challenges did it present driving snow?
Actually, the visibility wasn't too bad. It was more just the cold.
Could you feel your hands, like with your hands? Did it affect you?
I could not feel my hands or my face were probably the two main things.
And had you packed your driving bag accordingly? Was there plenty of layers in there to keep trying to warm up?
No, not really. I can't expecting it to snow, but yeah, luckily I had my gloves, which sort of helped for a little bit. But once they got a bit wet, it they sort of just froze.
Bit of incentive to go fast, I think. First past the post, first off the track. Although actually, no, that means you got to hang around a little bit longer for the presentation, doesn't it?
Presentation and a bit of a chat with Craig Dummersney. So
I reckon, mate. The line's just cutting in and out a little bit, so I'll wrap this up. But I reckon that, mate, it's going to be a great story to tell down the track. You're such a young bloke emerging on the scene. It's going to be a great story to be able to tell, down the track as your really, really promising driving career continues to emerge.
I guess so, but I hope I never have to do it again, that's for sure.
Well, look, it doesn't happen, as you said, 50 years at Blaney, we don't think it's happened, and that was such a unique thing. Hey, Justin, actually, I told you that we'd wrap it up, but hopefully the reception stays on long enough for this. Mate, I was at Dubbo. You won the feature at the Carnival of Cups feature at Dubbo earlier in the year, didn't you?
I was lucky enough to get the drive on Tomorrow Dawn for Steve Turnbull. Yeah, that was a massive thrill. Definitely the biggest win of my career so far.
The Red Ochre, was it? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Red Ochre.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something, mate. I was standing in among some crowds and I heard people say, geez, a good driver, that kid. And I don't reckon many people realise it yet. I thought that was a really cool thing to overhear. Like someone said, he's really good and no one has worked it out yet. So he's a bit of a jewel in the crown. Like, you can get him. Like, do you feel like you're picking up drives as you continue to have success? And is that one of the challenges? Like, you can drive, you got the skills, but it's just sort of trying to get the key engagements?
Yeah, it sort of gives you a lot of confidence when you can pick up a lot of outside drives, and especially a drive in like a feature race like that sort of fills you with a bit of confidence just in that. So that was really good.
Yeah, all right, mate. Well, hopefully you're not driving in the next year's Red Ochre in driving snow. I think it's a long shot at that time of year. But hey, we saw on the weekend anything can happen in this game.
Say again?
I don't think it'll snow in Dubbo.
No, I think you're right. All right, Justin, we'll leave you to it. Thanks for your time today, mate.
Yep, thank you.
Good on you. What an articulate young man, 23, been around a little while. Yep. He's been driving for just a couple of years, but what an articulate, well-spoken young fella. Just on Jimmy, you mentioned Canberra, Paul. I can remember, I'm going to say maybe 20-ish years ago, there was a Sunday afternoon, and I can remember there was an NRL game. Canberra played the Balmain Tigers, or I don't think they were West Tigers, and it might have been Balmain, but anyway, it was in the late 90s, I think, and it was a coinciding Canberra meeting in the daytime, and it was snowing there for probably a good hour or more, and several races were impacted, so I'm sure the family would probably have a recollection of that.
Yeah, Pop was actually saying yesterday after the snow at Blaney that he remembers driving in the snow, and Mick actually said he won the main race there, so in the snow, and they had plenty to say about it.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll tell you a story. I was born in Canberra. Hang on, I had my microphone turned down because I was having a sip of water. I was born in Canberra.
Okay.
Christmas Day, snowed.
On Christmas Day?
Christmas Day.
So my mum and dad had told me. Yeah, it snowed on Christmas Day. And we think, snow in Australia. Christmas in Australia, it's hot.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, apparently it snowed that day. So
Jeez.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, we've had a bit of climate change in all the years I've been on the planet.
It's all your fault.
Hey, just to wrap up, Blaney, last week we had John Kingham on the show, and he talked about the Turnbull legacy. It started with AD and that, and he said, hey, Steve Turnbull drove here way back in that first race meeting. Steve Turnbull had the Quinella in the feature, St. Emilion beating Cassius deck. Amanda Turnbull, his daughter, trained the horse that came third and fourth. In fact, there was a Turnbull name, won 4 of the 6 races.
Yeah.
It just seemed appropriate, doesn't it, Freddie?
Well, it fits, doesn't it? It just fits for the historical aspect of what Blaney has been involved in over the last 50 years.
I'll tell you what, might have been snowing, but it looked really, really picturesque as we talked about on the show last week. It's a scenic.
That mountain view, that would have been like Craig Easy would have had an amazing view from the broadcast box looking back up the hill and up the hill there at the snow. It would have been spectacular.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Hey, as we said, we had really good racing here on Saturday night. We had a Group 1 night. How good Queen Elida. I mean, you talked about this on the show, and certainly outside of the walls of the show last week, Jess. You're a big rap on Queen Elida, and she came out and absolutely delivered. Won that Trotters Mile by 18 metres for Chris Alford and Brent Lilly.
Yeah, she was so impressive, and I think it was the style that she did it in, 17.5 metres, and I think it was a real privilege to have her back up here at Menangle and see her at her very best.
It's a thrill calling her, that's for sure. And Chris Alford, that was his 132nd Group 1 win. What an amazing feat by arguably the best in the business Australia-wide, Chris Alford. But I've got to give a rap to Brad Hewitt's horse. I thought she went enormous. She just kept chipping. We've seen a very competitive here at the, in the fast class races here of a Saturday and obviously before that a Tuesday. And she went super, I thought, Majestic Trio.
Yeah.
You've seen a fair bit of her in races, in different races you've driven in, and she's been in and around the pack.
Yeah, she went really good, and she's been a good mare for Brad, and another one that's come over from New Zealand for Brad, and he's had a lot of success doing that too. So
Queen Elida came through the Oaks 2 years ago.
Yep.
So there was almost like a graduation ceremony.
Synergy, going up. Because that was for 4-year-old and upward trotting mares. So.
And last year she won the La Cucaracha, which I think from memory is similar conditions for that open trotting class mares as well.
So that was just Queen Elida's second start at Menangle. We've often talked about Menangle's a different beast, and there's tight circuit racing on different tracks, particularly in Victoria. We see a lot of great trotters come here, but when they come to Menangle and deliver like Queen Elida did, it puts them another echelon. Like, what do you think, Jimmy? Like, to me, that was like, all right, we know Queen Elida's she's a good horse.
Yeah.
But to come out and do that says, now she's legit.
Yeah, she's a very nice horse, and she done it in really quick time too, and looked like she still had a little bit left if she needed it. So, yeah, I think she was very impressive and will continue to go forward.
So, Freddie, like, did it sort of take her to the next level, do you think? I mean,
I think she's pretty much been. I think, in fairness to her, I think she's proven along the way. Obviously, that, in fact, I had a quick look. I think that was her third
because she did the La Cucaracha.
Because she had the La Cucaracha, the Oaks.
In the Oaks.
Second in the Oaks, won the La Cucaracha once. So she's had 3 goes here. So historically, she hasn't raced here a lot. But then again, all the races that she's won in Victoria, they're all top class races. She's a super trotting mare. I got a real buzz calling her because when you call those champions of the sport, and she's a champion trotting mare, there's no doubt about that. It was great to see her strut her stuff. I agree with Jimmy. I think she probably had a little bit left. The 17-metre margin could have been, easily more if Chris had have really wanted it to be. Great to see her here, and I'm sure we'll see more of her going forward.
Yeah, well, speaking of horses, we mentioned the Oaks. Speaking of horses that sort of come to Menangle and prove a point or, cement their place in, I guess, the conversation, was Rocking with Attitude. So first start at Menangle. So 15th career start. Came in with 9 wins under the belt. Came out and it just did a really good job for David Miles in the Oaks. What's your thoughts, Jess?
Yeah, she was really impressive, and it was great to see a large group of owners here on course as well to celebrate the win. I know I seen them out here in the parade ring, and they were really taking in the moment, and then as soon as they got down to the presentation, they were just really excited to enjoy the occasion. But she looks another trotter that is ultra impressive, and I'm excited to see her progress throughout her career.
Absolutely. And the good thing with her is, and we often see it in the trotting ranks, the fillies, some of the fillies back up into the Derby, which is this coming Saturday. And I know there's a real nice trotter in the Derby. In the Derby this Saturday, but I tell you what, I'm excited to see her backing up because I think she is the real deal. As Paul, you just said, only lightly raced, but has already banked 170,000 in stakes earnings, and just seems very professional and is still learning her craft.
Is she the horse to beat in the Derby?
Oh, look, I think the one down the bottom is going to be.
Feelings,
got feelings. Yeah, I think it's just proven that it's at that level, but the filly's going to give him a race, I'm sure.
Moonwalker?
Yeah, well, it went good. It's been going good. It's been going. Yeah, look, it's been going good. It's a real quality field for the Derby this year, and it always is. But I love how we get that cross-pollination of the fillies who, are keen to back up and take the boys on. That always adds another string to the race. But the ones you've mentioned are outstanding and should be a cracking race.
Okay, it was a really good card of racing. So the Waratah Series final was on too, won by Always Thunder for Bernie Hewitt. Great to see Bernie come to town, Jess, and deliver once again. Yeah,
it was great to always see Bernie here at Menangle, and that was actually his 1,599 winners. So one more to go for according to computer records.
Tomorrow. You reckon?
Yeah,
Tomorrow
night? At Bathurst. I think all eyes will be on there, and hopefully Bernie can land that elusive milestone.
I hope so, because I'm hearing people are trading him out of their fantasy team, but I'm hanging on.
Keep him in there.
Beautiful. Luke McCarthy just turned up and had a really good night. Treble at Menangle on Saturday. Sarah to Sloy, which is one that what were we saying? Sarah to Sloy.
Sarah to Sloy is how the connections want her.
It's a bit of an on-air conversation you and I.
Yeah, we had it when we were at Bathurst. But she is she's got plenty of upward scope. I think she's a pretty classy filly, to be honest. And it's funny, Lux of Fortune and Jimmy. No doubt it's happened to you in the past. We all know when she started her career, Chris Geary was driving Sarah to Sloy, and through that injury he had, he's missed out the last two drives, including that winning one. Good news, just as a side note for Chris, he's back today from that finger injury. But she's a quality filly, Sarah to Sloy, and she went super for Luke, took that little bit of a gap through the middle to come on and score, and she's won 2 from 4 now.
Can't Find a Better Man, very impressive. We're going to see good things out of Can't Find a Better Man going forward. Bondi Lockdown, how good? Like back from a little break, 150.3. It's a cracking race. That Ultra Orlando and JOK were flying. That was a real contest when it mattered. In good time, Jimmy.
Yeah, it was in good time, and he done it pretty tough too. So to see him come out and win and be able to hold him off was really good and really impressive, I thought.
In the Coronation Cup on a historic night for the world, and we maybe we played our part, Freddie, but hey, we've got to mention, in that race, and this is what we've campaigned for, Jimmy Locke went round in the Coronation Cup, finished at the back of the pack, but on this show, we campaigned to get our man here, Jimmy Locke, driving Jimmy Locke. We'd like to think that we made it happen. I don't know if we made it happen, but we're going to claim it. Mate, what's the story? Why has a horse got the same name as you? What's the story?
I'm pretty sure he was named after my grandfather. I remember a few years ago when I was actually here with the mini trotters, I seen David Aiken, and he said, "Oh, we're going to name a horse Jimmy Locke after your grandfather," and they were really close as far as I can gather. And yeah, so I think that's how it all worked out. And yeah, I'm just lucky enough to have the same name, I think.
I remember, so we've had a few laughs about it, and we said we're going to start a campaign. Now, Freddie got on the front foot, and then you got a text. I
got a text from Matt Lepard. Yeah.
Guess what? It's happened.
I had to ring you. I was that excited. Matt Lepard very kindly let me know that we've made it happen. Yep. Jimmy Locke's driving. And then I got some correspondence from family members saying, well, hang on, there's a bit more to the story than I think we all knew in that, yes, Jimmy Locke, the equine Jimmy Locke, is named after this Jimmy Locke's grandfather, who also had the same name. And you're right, they were very close to David Akey and Jimmy's grandfather, and that's how the naming of it come about. But Matt very kindly let me know, yep, we're going to make it happen. You had a drive on Jimmy Locke. Just back to the Coronation Cup, what about the topical tip all night? Didn't win, Kingmaker.
Yeah, I know.
I was hoping it'd win, but it would have been a bit of in the Coronation Cup.
What was that like, mate? Like, given you knew that the horse is named after your granddad, type family, and was it something you really looked forward to? Did you feel the moment? Like, did it mean something a bit more having that particular drive?
Yeah, for sure. It was certainly very cool and very good for Joe to give me a drive like that on him, and yeah, certainly very cool to drive a horse that's been named after my grandfather, and yeah.
And is there the likelihood that you'll get more drives with Jimmy Locke?
Oh, I'm not too sure, but I'd be grateful if I did, and like to take the opportunity. So,
Joe, if you're listening and watching the podcast, Joe,
Jimmy Locke,
Jimmy Locke for Jimmy Locke. We love you, Seaton, but if there's an opportunity, Jimmy's going to put his hand up.
Yeah. So was that a week when Seaton was
I
suspended or something?
Yeah,
like that? Or just unavailable.
I'm not sure the circumstances, but I know I got the phone call at around the message during the Tuesday afternoon meeting from Matt, and he said we've made it happen. So I just thought that was fantastic, and
really
as
cool.
I said, to then learn the backstory, I think that added another sort of twist to it all, because it was just I don't know about you two, but I just thought this Jimmy Locke has a horse that goes around with the same name. It's like there used to be a racehorse called Fred. Yeah. Slow and fat like me, but there was a horse called Fred. It wasn't named after me. It wasn't named after me, but Jimmy Locke drove the horse named after a family member.
It's like the one that is it Taylor's Ace that Taylor Osmond's been driving.
There's another one. There's a link.
Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I love it. Love those stories.
Really cool. And just speaking of Luke, so he had a double here last Tuesday as well, just to close out a good week of Metro racing here at the Principal Club. Ended that program with Rock Goko and Rock and Roll Hammer, who seemed two very progressive types as well, Fred. So, good week for Luke. Probably get what you expect, when the great man turns up here at Menangle.
Yeah, look, came into the card, picked up 20 points for fantasy players, just like that.
He's my captain.
He's your captain, so you got 40.
Days,
okay, yeah.
Happy days.
He's my vice captain. Do I get any bonus for vice captain?
Only if your captain's out.
Only if the captain's
I think we got to change that rule. blow up.
Well, you're not going to text me abuse.
No, I'll leave that to the experts. I'm that far down the order, it doesn't matter.
Hey, Tab Regional Championships time. Just a comment on the regional championships, because it's underway. This event was underway pre-me, working for Harness Racing New South Wales, but I do reflect on this event a bit. I think it's one of the genuine success stories in Australian sport out of a horrible time for the world with the COVID lockdown restrictions and everything like that. But this event really was born out of some broad and lateral thinking by the powers that be, both at board and executive level at Harness Racing New South Wales, to create a concept that allowed the game to go on in racing. And it proved to be a real gem in, that they've maintained it and enhanced it. So we went from, it was Group 1 racing in 4 regions. It created the regional system, which is the same system we've adopted for fantasy harness racing. So it created that. It put racing there. It allowed people to race in their own backyard. It created opportunities for locals within regions. And then in year 2 was the add-on of the state final. I just think it's one of the real genuine success stories. And through that state final, we saw a Riverina horse come to town last year with Peter McRae and Trevor White come and win the race. We've seen Brad Hewitt's horse win it with Send It. So this has been, to me, and maybe I'm speaking, because I'm so closely aligned to it, I just think it is, across the whole sporting landscape here in this country, genuine success story.
I totally have to agree with you there, Paul. I know we had Will Rickson as our guest last week, and we spoke to him about his first Group 1 victory, which was in a TAB Regional Championships. But there's always
Jack Callaghan won his
Callaghan
first,
as well,
the inaugural year. Yeah.
The Sloy's family too last year with the passing of Tony. But then also to the heats, there's always some great stories that come up there. And I know last year, young Bryson Grimer, so early on in his career, he was able to win a heat here at Menangle at big odds. So I can't wait to see 4 heats run here this afternoon and see some stories that emerge there.
Well, we've already seen some of it play out. So Bathurst kicked us off and some results to go through. Modern Power for Nathan Turnbull. Hey, the Frisbees, Chris and Ant Frisbee had a really good qualifying process there at Bathurst. He Ain't Faking and Uncle Mickey both through, so they got some decisions to make around driving. Keep your phone close, Jimmy, or imagine. Alta Billy for Amanda Turnbull. Now, Jimmy, you had one in that. Joe Tomo went round at $1.55 favourite, third in that race.
Yeah, he was very short, and on face value, he probably looked disappointing, but I wasn't disappointed in his run, and I thought he come through good, and he's really consistent. He tries so hard, and hopefully we can draw a bit of a barrier in the final.
Yep.
And, hopefully get a bit of luck.
So, you excited about the opportunity to drive in a final there in that Western Region final, mate?
Yeah, for sure. And Ian and Peter give me a great opportunity, and the horse is going really well, and that's a credit to them. And hopefully he can keep going to the final, and, hopefully get a bit of luck. And I think he's a genuine contender.
Yep, one to keep an eye on.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah. All right, well, maybe he's giving us an early black booker there. That's your territory. You muscle in there. We were at Wagga on Friday afternoon, so Crime Don't Pay for Blake Jones and Michael Hawke. Brooklyn Bridge for Blake Jones and Ellen. So Blake had a real good day there, and Oratoria for David Druitt. So that Riverina qualifying has been strong once again. As you said, Jess, that's the one that Will Rickson broke through and got his first Group 1 in a couple of years ago. So there's good pedigree there. That's where our state final winner came out of last year, out of that. So
Father Bob, wasn't it, for Will when he won?
For Will,
Bob, yeah. And then last year we had Peter McRae and Trevor White combining there with Defiant.
Yes, yep. So it was a great night of racing that. So and what's unique about that state final is we actually got no horses that have won their regional final.
No.
They've come through as qualifiers by finishing second or something. So Send It didn't win the Metro final the year before, came out and won the state final. So, yeah, it's a great concept. We were at Newcastle on Friday, so we had Man from Bravos for Melanie Elder and Joe Taft. That was an interesting race, that one. My Ultimate Skeeter for Cameron Hart and Clayton Harmey, and Clayton Harmey was at it again with Grace Pinella teaming up with St. Crusader. So, again, strong everywhere, and of course, Jess, then we get into 4 heats today here at headquarters at Menangle.
Yeah, we do 4 heats like you've just mentioned there, and exciting horses as well going around. I know one personal favourite of mine that I'm keen to see is Uncle Jay. I've followed him for a while, and so I'm a bit of a fan there, but also you see the likes of Soho Rhapsody for Ricky Ouchen, and I know Ricky's also got another short price one that goes around in the first heat, which is Sugar for My Honey.
Yep. Okay, should be good racing, and of course that all leads up to next week final. So final at Bathurst on Wednesday, Wagga on Friday afternoon, evening, Newcastle on Friday night, Menangle here on Saturday, and then we're back here at Menangle the following Saturday for the TAB Regional Championship state final, which is obviously the qualifiers that come out of each of those finals. So great concept. There's going to be Sky Racing active coverage wrapped around each of those 5 finals, so the state final and the 4 regional finals. Sky Racing active coverage. Brandon Cranborg and Brittany Graham will be on track for both of them. So great opportunity to get around that whole race meet and see it all come together. I think it's a wonderful initiative, and long may it last. Okay, so if we continue around the grounds, as you said, Wagga had a great qualifying afternoon there on Friday, but on Tuesday, Seren Sefton, her first winner of the season, just her second in the past 4 years, drove humming top for her dad, Scotty Adams. We've had Scotty on the show talking when Young had their Carnival of Cups. So, yeah, love seeing these stories of people who get these one-off little, winners here and there. And so well done, Sarah. And Jimmy, you had a win in the last on that program with Full of Wisdom.
Yeah, it was very good for her to break through and get a win again. Pop's been very patient with her, and it was a bit of relief.
Geez, you clock up some miles. Like you're here, you drove at Bathurst Wednesday night, you're at Wagga on Tuesday.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Oh, plenty of miles, plenty of sleeping when I'm in the truck. I'm not a very good passenger, but
That's some serious commitment.
Yeah.
Like to be able to get those engagements, be available, and then come out and perform like you do.
They work hard.
Credit to you.
The boys and girls that are in harness racing, it can be said of other racing codes, but they work hard. They've got horses to put away when they get back from a late night at the races. They get up early to work, then they work the team, then they go to a race meeting, and they could be there. They could be in the first race and then in the last. It's a long day, long hours, but no doubt when you get the wins and you're involved in family with wins, it's very satisfying.
Yeah, it's very satisfying and certainly makes it all worthwhile it makes it easy to get up whenever you have a good night, but of course you got to get up and do it all again the next morning no matter the result. So
Absolutely. So Wagga had a big week. They raced on Friday as well, as we said. Alex Ashwood had a double there. We were at Penrith on Thursday. Of course, Jack Callaghan and Cameron Hart both got doubles there on that program. Nice moment. You're good friends. You're friends with the Rickson family. We had Will here last week. We've had Hannah on the show. And we talked about that rivalry between them. How they obviously want to get out and win for their connections, but they had a Quinella. 2 horses trained by their dad. I thought this is a really nice family moment here. Will won the race. Hannah was second, but Peter Rickson trained both of them.
Yeah, I think we've seen that happen a few times now, but I think there'd be no prouder household than parents Cindy and Pete, so well done to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Tommy Ison, we say it every week when we race at Tamworth, don't we? But he had a treble there at Tamworth on Wednesday. Grace Pinella, she's had a really good couple of weeks. So this was sort of highlighted to me when we were talking on the fantasy podcast yesterday. Our current competition leader, he said, Grace Pinella's on the Christmas card list. He said she has been probably the point of difference that's helped him get to the lead. But she's had a really good week. She had a double at Newcastle on Friday. Newcastle yesterday, G-Mac.
Yeah.
Turned out with a double. Glenn McElhenney, friend of the show.
One of our early guests, his early days. Yeah,
it's great to see him pop up with a good, successful afternoon there at Newcastle. Mitchie Turnbull treble a double at Dubbo on Friday. Dougie Hewitt had a double on that same program at Friday. So but another one of the good blokes are racing, Troy Williams. He doesn't drive a lot, Freddie.
No, not much at all these days. Generally, particularly at Penrith, Robbie and Josh pick up a lot of Troy's drives, but he keeps his hand in, and it's a good thing he did because he had a winner. They've been few and far between, obviously, because he's not as prolific a driver as some of the other boys and girls, but it was good to see him. He's a good fella, Troy. Had his share of issues in the last couple of years with floods out in the Hawkesbury, which I can relate to on some levels, but not as severe as Troy. And he's shone through with a winner, so well done to
I've sat with him in the stands a few times here on a Tuesday afternoon, and he certainly is invested in the performance of his horse.
Passionate, he's very, as all of them are, but he's super passionate.
So he doesn't drive very often. That was his first winner for the year. Mm-hmm. He had one last year. Before that, he hasn't won a race since 2016.
So we're going three wins since
not bad, is it?
3 wins in 7.
2 wins.
He won in 2016, basically. Then he won last year, and then another one. So 3 since 2016. It's if incredible. You go that way.
Yeah, love being able to sort of. I'm sure these things happen and they slip through the radar. So if anyone is listening and they do hear of these little nuggets, things that happen, then. Happy for people to tip us off into that.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Yes.
Good to celebrate those little milestones.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, Jess, brace yourself. So
that might be the best thing I've seen this week. It wasn't too loud.
Turn the volume down a little bit on that one. What is the best thing you saw this week apart from that?
Yeah, so I think Freddie and I are in agreement here that it was the performance of Queen Elida. I think we were both privileged to be in such a prime position here on Saturday night to see her in action, and it was honestly just incredible.
How does that compare with, because I thought Bondi Lockdown was pretty incredible. Jimmy, I know you were pretty impressed there.
Yeah, I was very impressed there, and that's probably the best thing I saw this week as well, to be able to sit parked and still get the job done in quick time. I think it was very impressive.
Yeah.
There was a couple of good runs in that race, and Jimmy's spot on there. He was 3 deep early, Bondi, and then he got to the death, and then, but I tell you what, there was a horse, and they actually backed him in the race, Cash and Flow. Yep. Now, we talked about COVID, and we talked about the, I guess the genesis of the TAB championships, regional championships. through that period, the one constant you could almost put money on, Death, Taxes and Cash and Flow winning at Menangle. And that period in COVID, I was calling the races in the studio. And he won, I think it was 13 straight at this venue, which is quite an incredible feat. He's had a bit of a checkered time since. However, he came back after about 5 months off the other day, and I thought he really savaged the line well, ran fourth. There was money for him. Where there's smoke, there's fire, so maybe keep an eye out for Cash and Flow down the track. He is racing against all the good horses, Expensive Ego and the like this week, and again draws poorly, but you get a soft draw. If he manages a soft draw somewhere along the way in that open grade company, he's a win is not... And if he does win another race here, he will join Tough Monarch as the most winningest horse, because at the moment, and Paul, there's Tough Monarch's won the most races here, but of the four that are one win behind, 3 of them are still racing. So Tough Monarch, he's been retired. So if Cash and Flow, Don Boston and Drop the Hammer, if one of those, they'll again rejoin Tough Monarch at the top of the tree. Yeah. Incredible.
Love the reward for longevity and persistence for everyone involved with those horses. It's really cool. Maybe the best thing, maybe because I'm just looking at it merely as a spectator, but seeing that snow race at Blaney was cool. Maybe because I wasn't in it, and I didn't have to endure it.
Well, I got the feeling Justin was no rep for it, so he was not keen.
I just love it. And well done to the stewards. Actually, as I was walking in here today, a couple of our stewards, Brett Day and Shawnee Snudden, chipped me and said, "Where were you, Blaney? You're soft." they had to go through it, the boys. But well done for even getting the race going ahead. It was, it certainly made people take notice of our product, and it's tracked very strongly on social media during the week, and people are just like, "Wow, can't believe what I'm seeing there." So, Jimmy, mate, great to have you here. We love starting these conversations with people who've come through the mini trot system. What grounding for that sport has that given you?
Very good. The mini trots are very good, I think. Great stepping stone into the big ones. Lots of fun too. So I advise any kids wanting to get into the racing game to maybe look to go through there as a stepping stone. I know it taught me a lot, and a lot of fun. And the championships, they're a great thing too, and they were just on over Easter, and I know my cousins headed up, and they had a lot of fun there, and I think one of them's looking to step into his trial licence later in the month, so it's a really great stepping stone.
I love talking to these mini trotter kids, and they take it so seriously, and they got such big raps on their pony, and they're like, "Oh, it's a fast horse." I remember at Ugara getting a couple of the Turnbull kids, and I said, "No, good form, and goes really fast." and if you ask them, it's almost like you're talking to Cam or Luke or something. And they're breaking down a Group 1 calibre.
But that's the beauty of it. They're so passionate, and that's where they're starting. They're starting, and they're basically what they're doing, Paul, is emulating their heroes that they see on Sky and Sky Active. They're emulating them and speaking like them. And I bet you're finding, the young fellas and the young girls coming through are way more articulate and comfortable in speaking publicly about their horses in races, because when they were in the mini trots, they were quite happy to talk up their ponies.
So what was your pony, mate?
His name was Bobby Boucher.
Bobby Boucher,
I remember I've called Bobby Boucher here.
Yeah, and Bob on the Run. I got him off Bryce McElhenney when he retired, and I was lucky enough to get Bobby Boucher off Cody Rockenberger when she retired, so I was pretty lucky in that way. And
How did Bobby Boucher go, Water Boy?
Very good.
Yeah.
I think he actually ran second in the Miracle Mile.
Yeah, I was going to say he was in the Miracle Mile. I remember. Yeah, absolutely.
And like were you he was your world? Is that like, how did you sort of?
Yeah, after school.
Yeah,
couldn't wait to go and work him and clean his box and feed him and water him and everything like that.
Yeah, good. And so, mate, the opportunity to so you've been driving in obviously the senior ranks now for 2 years.
Yeah.
The opportunity, was it just that's what you want to do? When did you lock in on this is what I want to do for a living?
Oh, I've really wanted to do it for a while, and I've been lucky enough and got some really good opportunities and a lot of support behind me by a lot of trainers. So I've been very lucky along the way so far.
Yeah. like we said before, you're travelling around. Do you think that is, at your age and how early in your career, that is just what you have to do? You have to get around and you have to create relationships with people and get your name in front of trainers and owners and just be available.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
For sure. Like on Wednesday nights, an example, I was only going for one and I was lucky enough to pick up an extra drive. So when they see that you're going to travel and that, sometimes you're lucky enough to get an extra drive here and there, and sometimes you're not.
Oh, you're doing a good job for them too, so that's going to make them more keen.
Coming from the mini trots up into now the senior driving ranks, who have been some of your biggest influences that have helped you along the way?
Mum, Dad, and Pop, Nan, they've probably been my biggest supporters along the way. If you have a bad night or a good night, they're always there supporting, and yeah.
And just a little bit further from that, in terms of the current crop of drivers and senior drivers, is there a person you look up to and admire the most, or you sometimes try and get their advice and opinion, aside from your family, someone else in the game?
Luke McCarthy for sure. I love watching Luke. He's so cool, calm and collected. He's the last one to panic, and that shows in his races a lot.
He truly is cool hand Luke, isn't he? He's just so chilled,
Yeah.
Have you found those guys approachable, and have you tapped into that and say, "Wow, there's Luke McCarthy. I'd love to get a little nugget of advice
or something,
or has he seen me, and is there a pointer that he have you tapped into that? Because we're only 20 metres where we are here on the other side where we're standing, and the vault of knowledge in there and experience, I'd hate to think that that's not accessible to someone at 18 years of age coming through the ranks like you.
Yeah, Luke's always got time to talk to you and give you advice if you ask him, so that's really good, and to know that you can go and ask him and talk to him whenever you can is really good.
Is there anything that one real key message that you've parked so early in your career that you've got from someone that you carry with you?
Just watching how cool, calm and relaxed he is. Something I try and take in and do myself in my driving. Pop's always said, just be relaxed and it'll take care of itself.
You see him go around on a Tuesday and a Saturday here. Most people are rocking the full name or the surname on the pants. Not our man here, just Jimmy.
That's Jimmy.
Branding. He's going with the Madonna.
He's going for the branding,
Madonna or
Cher.
Yeah, just that one name.
Just one name.
Yep, one name.
Ronaldo or Fred. No, soccer player Fred, not me. Yeah. Just quickly, you were just back on the things you take in and whatever. Do you do a lot of form yourself when you're driving? Do you sit down and devote some time to form in that all those things you have to do?
Yeah, I like to look at the races the night before and then look again the next morning before I get out of bed, and I like to have a good look at them and have a quick look at them again before we go out on the track in the driver's room. Yep. That's just something I like to do before a race.
What's the goal, mate? What do you got sort of on the horizon that you'd love to be able to tick off, say, in the next 12 months, 2 years?
My goal for this season was to get 50 winners. So hopefully we can get that. And another goal I sort of set at the start of the season was to be able to maybe get up to 80 or 100 winners for my career. But yeah, of course, it's always just trying to be better than you were last season, more winners.
Mate, I think that's, they're very reasonable goals to be setting. You'd hate to think that you're coming in here and saying, it's great to say, I want to win a Miracle Mile, I want to win an Inter-Dominion, but those things come.
Improving.
Yeah, you get progressive as you go through the
100%.
Through the ranks, mate. You're certainly ticking a lot of boxes. You're pulling in winners. Quite often over the last 6 months we've used a fantasy harness racing lens on things, but I've said, we priced you up at a price where we thought this is a young man on a trajectory that he's probably needs to sit at that price where your stats might have said maybe it should have been a little bit cheaper or whatever. And early on, people were like, hey, there's the bargain. And where you got set up. And I think
we both had him in our team from
I reckon
the
you'd
start.
sit in probably as many, if not more teams than a lot of our our drivers the way it's been set up. Have you had any feedback on that?
Yeah, I've had a bit of feedback that probably into more teams as I'm placed in the Riverina and do a lot of driving around here on a Tuesday and
getting out west as well.
Yeah.
So he's one of those
Travels everywhere.
multi-venue.
I tell you what, you just you had a week off, just gone. That caused all sorts of mayhem with team configurations because you were very handy to have parked there at that price that you had. So, mate, look, I can't wish you enough luck and goodwill and best wishes going forward, because I'm a rap on people who do hard work and roll their sleeves up and are prepared to put in the hard yards, which clearly you do. But you only got to have a look at the fields for racing this week and go, wow, when's this man giving himself an opportunity to sleep and feet up? Because, the commute alone is taxing.
And again, good that he came, good that you
Early
came early just to be part of the show. 20 more winners and you'll tick your first goal off your 50 winners.
yeah, hopefully
I've just checked 30 so far, and we're almost getting to the halfway mark, so you're on target.
Mate, you'll be at 40 by this time next week, Fred.
On target. Could be the amount of drives
so.
he's got. And I hope he does, because we've got him in our fantasy
That's
team.
exactly right.
No, you're right, Fred. To make yourself available, I only got in touch with Jimmy yesterday and said, mate, love to have you on the show. And he was back to me pretty quick and said, yep, I'll do it. I didn't realise that you're going to have to do that commute
Travel
from
up.
Canberra to get here a bit
Well
earlier.
done.
And you were at Canberra last night as well.
Yeah.
Yep. And to Justin Reynolds for making himself available.
Absolutely.
Too. He's a lot of our drivers in the Western region are in some areas where phone signal has been a little bit challenging for him. Justin's, I don't know where he was this morning when we spoke to him, but he said, I'll be in somewhere where I know the phone works properly. So he's gone to the effort of doing that. So, well done, Justin. Okay, so guys, we've got the New South Wales Bred 2 and 3-year-old series, which kicks off tonight actually at Leeton. So we've got race heats at Leeton. We've got on Thursday at Penrith, on Friday at Parkes and Newcastle. Now next week's the 17th is at, so what's that? That's Wednesday, the 17th.
Wednesday's the 17th. Yep.
Do my days and my numbers right. So that's at Tamworth. Then we're back at Penrith again on the 18th, and then we've got Wagga and Dubbo on the Friday. So, and then there's a final here at Menangle on the 3rd of June. So the hits just keep on coming, Jess. Menangle just keeps, that's great, because that's that pure regional qualification process of, you've got to be good on circuit racing and country tracks and that to get here to the big dance here at Menangle.
Yeah, that's right. It's always great when we have those types of races here, and no doubt it'll just get us all excited for the Breeders' Challenge Series that is to come later on this year as well.
Yep, should be fantastic. All right. Now this week, Freddie, we've got to hurry this up because we've got an early start at Menangle today, and we've got to get you out of here. But 10 races this afternoon, including those 4 heats in the regional championships.
I just want to mention, for those that are having a punt today, with the regional championships, so ordinarily, most of the time we have 10 across the front, all horses across the front. In terms of the way the configuration, the start, it's 8 across the front and a second row where needed for these regional heats to keep it, I guess, in alliance with the configuration at the other regional tracks like Wagga, Newcastle and Bathurst. So you'll notice there is a second line for those races. That is important if you're having a bet.
Yep, absolutely. So Leeton's on tonight. We've got Bathurst Wednesday, Penrith Thursday. We've got West Wyalong, Parkes and Newcastle in a blockbuster Friday. Remember, Wagga and West Wyalong swapped their race meetings. And you're going to be at West Wyalong, you said, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm going down there and lucky enough to pick up a few drives for David Micallef, as Blake got suspended last night. So very lucky to get them.
So what's your week? You got today. You had Canberra yesterday. You got today. You have Bathurst tomorrow.
Yeah.
Penrith Thursday. I saw.
Yeah.
West Wyalong.
Yeah. And
what about?
Maybe Parkes on Friday night. I was talking
the
to Blake,
double header. Jeez.
Blake on the way down. And
incredible.
I'm glad he's driving.
Wow. Tell you what, he's a must-have for your fancy team then. Canberra's on Sunday, so you'd probably be in that as well.
Yeah, they got their Canberra Cup on, so hopefully we can get a few drives there and have a bit of luck.
And then Bankstown's on Monday. Don't suppose you're coming back for that too, are you?
No. Not yet.
Who knows? He might lob because you've been supporting the trotting races that I don't know if they've got a Trotters
I'm
programmed.
Not
I haven't
sure.
looked,
I haven't
but
checked at the program.
but yeah. So he might even end up at bench.
Yeah, God.
If not, drivers, trainers, if you're looking for a driver
Jimmy
who's
Locke's available.
30, I'm on commission, right?
Yep. Hey, the regional championship. So we've got heats at Bathurst tomorrow, Wagga and Newcastle on Friday, Menangle obviously today. So keep an eye out for that. Menangle on Saturday night should be another good night, Jess.
Yeah, it should be a great night of racing. We've also got, as we've talked about before, the New South Wales Trotters Derby, the Bill Green Free-for-All, Expensive Egos back, and another one that I thought was a bit of an eye-catcher in the Coronation Cup was JOK. He goes around in that, and also the Group 3 Bulleye Trotters Cup.
Yep, okay. All right, Black Bookers, what do you got for us, Jess?
Yeah, I'm heading down to Riverina, and it is one for David and Blake Micallef, Rock and Burn. It was restrained to last Friday at Wagga, and it got home in some really nice sectionals, so I'll be keeping an eye on Rock and Burn.
Beautiful. Freddie?
I was impressed with the run of Electra the other night. She's a model of consistency. She's in a mare's race again on Saturday night. She takes on the likes of Fairy Tinkerbell. Lebowski's in that race as well, but I just think she's going super well, and at the moment it's each way all day with her. She just keeps running a hole.
Beautiful. Anything you want us to keep an eye out for, Jimmy?
I reckon Majestic Trios would be a good one going forward, I think, and she's just a model of consistency, and yeah, I think she can keep that up.
Beautiful. All right. Hey, we got through plenty today, guys. Good show. Freddie, you've got to hit the
road, Jack, and climb the 72 stairs or whatever it is. Oxygen, please.
Be ready for your radio commitments and call a big afternoon of racing here at Tabcorp Park, Menangle. Jess, thanks for today.
Thank you for having me.
Jimmy,
thanks for having me.
Thanks for making the time, mate. It's a big effort, and I know you've got a big afternoon ahead of you. To everyone out there tuning in either on the live stream or listening to us down the track, thanks for your support of the Sprint Lane podcast. We love bringing it to you. Keep telling people about it. Give us a share, like, follow, whatever it is. Maybe a review if it's kind. We love your support. We'll catch you next time on the Sprint Lane. Bye-bye.